Signing of the role of advocates as the advocates of the superior courts of Kenya. Every time I stand here to administer the oath and to welcome the newly admitted advocates to the profession, I do it with utmost grace and gratitude, because my mind also goes back to about 35 years ago in 1987 when I sat where you are seated. And that time, I would have considered myself vulnerable, having come from a background which we would describe as poor background, a daughter of a peasant. I was married early. I already had a daughter, and I was expecting another one. But I looked at myself as a champion, and I looked at myself as an achiever who has been able to be sworn as an advocate of the High Court, and none of my village mates had become an advocate. So I started seeing myself a very great achiever, that I also was a mother of a daughter. My colleagues did not have a child, most of them, and I was expecting another one, and I even had a husband. So I was counting many, many blessings that particular time. I didn't look at myself as vulnerable. I was just seeing, how an achiever I was. And this is the attitude I would like you to adopt on this great day, because we are so lucky. We live in a country that is full of possibilities. That is a country that gives us hope that there is always a better tomorrow. So welcome to the profession. As the Chief Registrar has said, she considers you a mother. I also consider you my children, and I'm ready to hold your hand and walk with you from today, a day which marks a very important moment in your careers. This is because we take admission to the role of advocates very seriously. It was my turning point, and it is your turning point for all of you, and for anybody who is aspiring to become a member of the legal profession. And in this group of 113, I see the future of the legal profession. I see champions for a just cause of our society, people who are going to carry on the work of transforming this country until all of us can realize our full potential, living in an environment that enables us to grow economically, politically, and socially. Today marks a transition from a period that you have focused on studies, preparing for admission to the bar. And the way I saw you look at the representative of the Council for the Legal Education and Kenya School of Law, it must have been tough. It was also tough for us when we did it. But of course, this does not mean that the period of studies will come to an end, like everybody has said, has advised you in those very profound messages they have given you of encouragement. So you have earned this title of a learned friend, but we expect you to continue standing as members of the bar, because the law is ever evolving, and the ideal advocate must keep abreast with the law and other developments in the society. I want to use this opportunity to share with you my reflections on the role of advocates in promoting access to justice. We have our Constitution 2010, which we embraced, and in it is very ambitious in its objectives of ensuring that we create a just society, which means that justice is a universal good and the law should be harnessed to ensure justice for all. Under Article 48 of the Constitution, access to justice is a fundamental right. It follows that it is a constitutional imperative that advocates becomes priests in the temple of justice, which is what our courts are, and they ought to be. They ought to champion access to justice for all, and especially the vulnerable in our society. Access to justice is usually conceived to involve bringing claims to court or defending such claims. Although litigants can represent themselves in court, we all know effective representation usually demands representation by competent advocates. We also know the cost of representation tends to be high and often out of reach for most litigants, especially the vulnerable members of our society, like the elderly, children, persons with disabilities, members of the minority, and marginalized groups, amongst others. And given this reality, ladies and gentlemen, that most of our people, especially the vulnerable, are still excluded from enjoying the benefits of competent legal representation, advocates must be ready to go a step further than what is expected to ensure that these vulnerable members of our society access justice. And this involves taking steps to provide legal services and legal advice to people who would otherwise not afford them. And by doing so, you are addressing the justice gap that exists in our